Guys, welcome to another Damilola Forex Academy teaching. And today's teaching is going to be special as it's going to be a one-stop course on chart structure. If you've heard about chart structure, you've been looking for that go-to teaching on chart structure, then this is the teaching for you, because in this teaching, I'm going to be talking about every single thing on chart structure and how you can be able to use the knowledge of chart structure to be able to predict thousands of pips into the future and to be able to accurately place trades and make profits in the forex market. Okay, so let's get onto the whiteboard and grab your pen, grab your book, and take note of every single thing I'm going to be talking about in today's teaching. Okay, so let's go straight to the whiteboard. Okay, so we are going to be talking about how to trade chart structures like a pro. First of all, we have to begin chart structures by talking about its definition. What are these chart structures? Okay, it's important to note, right, that chart structures are the coordinated movement of candlesticks on the chart. Okay, when you go onto your chart and you see these candlesticks are made up of chart structures. Let's go back onto the chart and even see this, candlestick. Here we can see numerous candlesticks here. For example, when a novice comes onto the chart and it sees all of these candlesticks right here, the novice is like, oh, all of these candlesticks are, random movements. But we as professionals know that these candlesticks are making coordinated movements that we know as chart structures. Okay, so all of these movements right here, as we can see, all of these candlesticks movement right here are all what's making structures. Okay, they are coordinated movements. They are not just random movements, they are coordinated. Okay, and they are likewise movements. So now, going back onto the whiteboard, we can just go ahead and, just write out the definition that we just talked about, right? That chart structures are coordinated movements of candlesticks on the chart, okay? And it's important to note, right, that with the knowledge of chart structures, you can be able to predict trade. You can be able to place trades. And in fact, without the knowledge of chart structures, there's a high probability that you're only gambling in the market. Okay? The percentage of traders that are profitable by the understanding of chart structures are more by far margin than the traders that don't even understand chart structures. Because if you don't understand chart structures, then you don't even understand the market. Okay? In fact, that's why I always go further and say that chart structures is the skeletal framework of the markets. Okay, it's the skeletal framework of the market. Okay, so when we go on to the markets, the skeletal framework of it, what holds the formation of the entire market are chart structures. Okay, so this is why the knowledge of chart structures is very, very important. So now, going forward, right, we have been able to understand what these chart structures are, but it's also important that we know how these chart structures are grouped. Okay, so it's important that we now go and see what types of chart structures, okay, so that we understand the grouping of these chart structures so that we can be able to trade them correctly according to their grouping. Okay, so number one, we have the bullish chart structure. Okay, and number two, let's put it a bit of a distance below, we have the bearish chart structure. Okay, so it's important to note, right, that the bullish chart structure entails clear coordinations of higher highs and higher lows. Okay, so this bullish chart structure entails clear coordination of what? Of higher highs and higher lows. Okay, these are the bullish coordinations, right? Then the bearish coordination entails what? Clear structures of lower highs and lower lows. Okay, so the bullish chart structure entails clear structures of higher highs and higher lows, just like we said, and the bearish chart structure contains clear structures of lower highs and lower lows. So now we are going to go, to a plain chart to even show, what are these higher highs and higher lows, what are these lower highs and lower lows, because you need to understand that before you even start to trade. Okay, so now coming on to the whiteboard, right? For a bullish chart structure, if we see movements like this clearly represents a bullish chart structure. Okay, so we can just write below that this is a bullish chart structure. Okay, so this represents a bullish chart structure clearly. So now, why is this a bullish chart structure? It's not because it's a bullish chart structure because price is trending upwards. No, that is a trend. Okay, but it's a structure because what? It's a structure because prices are making clear coordinations. Okay, now for a bullish chart structure, we'll now say it's a bullish chart structure because price is making clear coordinations of higher highs and higher lows. Okay, all of this here are higher highs, all of this here are higher lows. Okay, this is what is coordinated in a bullish chart structure. So here we can now go and write that ahead and write HH means higher high, higher high, higher high. Then this one, that the high that started the entire wave of movements, this is known as a high. So this is the first one right here is an higher high because it's higher than the previous one. This one is an higher high because it's higher than the previous one. This is an higher high because it's higher than the previous one. And this one is regarded as an high because it's the first high that started that swing movement, right? How about here? This is an higher low. This is an higher low because it's higher than this low right here. This is also an higher low because it's higher than this low right here. And this one is regarded as a low because it is the low that started that entire swing movement, right? And this is what is coordinated, and this is what is seen in a clear bullish chart structure. Okay, so how about the other side of it, which is the bearish chart structure? Okay, so this is a bearish chart structure. What is seen right here? Okay, one, we can see, right, that this is what a lower high, this is a lower high, this is a lower high, and this is regarded as an high. Then this is a low, it started the low of that swing movement. There's a lower low, this is a lower low, and this is also a lower low. So we are going to go ahead and write it. For the first one right here, we said this is a lower high because it is lower than this high. This is also a lower high because it's lower than this high. This is also a lower high because it's lower than this high. How about here? This is what? A lower low because it's lower than this low. There's a lower low, there's a lower low, and this right here is the low. So these are clear bearish structures, right? Of lower highs and lower lows. Okay, so this is what is made up of in a clear bearish structure. Beautiful. Okay, so now it's important to note, right, that now that we've understood what these structures are, it's also important for us to understand two very important concepts when it comes to structures, which are what? Break of structure and change of character. Okay, now we understand what the bullish chart structure is, we understand what the bearish chart structure is, but we need to go further and understand these two concepts. Okay, so we will now go further and write that what? Okay, let's see, right? Let's write change of character slash of versus break of structure. These are two different concepts that we have to be able to understand, and we have to be able to, trade these two different concepts. Okay, so before we go ahead, right, I want to introduce you guys to my full-on mentorship program where we have live sessions from Monday to Friday because I realized, right, that students need a lot of time to be with their mentor, to learn from their mentor. So I decided to start live mentorship programs where as far as the market is opened and there are opportunities in the market, we are going to be live together. We are going to analyze together. We are going to pick trades together, and we are going to make money together. And beyond that, you guys are going to learn from the very best in the industry. Okay, so link is in the description below for you to subscribe to that mentorship program. And we're going to see, on the mentorship program for more masterclass of every single thing that I'm teaching. Okay, so let's get on to the video, right? So we said that was change of character versus break of structure. So now, what is change of character? Change of character happens when prices moves from one structure or one type of structure to the other type of structure. So let's just go ahead and write that out. That change of character occurs when prices moves from one type of structure to the other. Okay, remember I told you guys that we have two types of structures, right? So change of character happens when prices move from one type of structure to the other type. Okay, so that means when price moves from either the bullish structure to the bearish structure, or either the bearish structure to the bullish structure. When we see that, we will now say that, oh, there has been a change of character. Okay, so now let's go ahead and draw a scenario out. So for example, right, we see prices making all of these bullish movements. And what do we now see? We see the last higher low got taken off. This is what? A change of character. Because originally price was on bullish structures, but now price has broken the bullish structure. There's been a break. Okay, price has closed below the last higher low, indicating weakness in the bullish trend, and in fact indicating an end to the bullish trend and a beginning of the bearish trend. Okay, so in this case, let's just go ahead and write all of the structures out. Remember right here, this is a high, this is an higher high, this is an higher high, this is an higher high, then this right here is an higher high. Then right here, okay, this is supposed to be a low. I'm going to make the corrections. Okay, this is an higher low, this is an higher low, then right here, this is an higher low. Okay, so let's briefly make the corrections of this. This should be a low because it started the low movements. That means this one right here should be a high because it started the high movement. So this is an higher low. So originally, we were on clear bullish characters, as you can see. So now, what did prices now do? Instead of what? Instead of prices continuing this bullish character, right? By creating an higher low and what? I'm pushing up for an higher high. Instead of that, what the prices do? Prices change character by moving from one type of structure to another type of structure by now creating what? A lower low. That is a low that is lower than the previous low. Now, this is when we say a change of character has occurred. Okay, and this is the only criteria that changes a bullish chart structure to a bearish chart structure. This is the only criteria. Prices breaks below the last higher low. Okay, so in this case, we'll say what? Okay, we have been able to see a what? A change of character. Change of character. I always use this as, an abbreviation for, the change of character. Okay, so as soon as we see this, we know that, okay, price has moved from the bullish to the bearish, and we are now set to execute our trade. Because what a change of character does for us is that it allows us to know that one type of structure has ended and price has begun another type of structure. So since the change of character is an indication for me that price has begun another type of structure, this means that it gives me an opportunity to execute a trade position when I see such patterns in the market. Okay, so now that we've seen this, we're also going to talk about the other type, moving from the bearish to the bullish type of structure, which is, when we see prices make movements like this, clear bearish structures. Okay, clear bearish structures, lower highs and lower lows. Then instead of prices making lower high and another lower low, price now decides to break the last lower high right here, trade above it. As soon as we see prices trade above the last lower high right here, we'll be like, yes, a change of character has happened. And this has what? This has signified an end of the bearish structure and a beginning of the bullish structure. So now let's go ahead and identify all of the structures together. So at this level right here, I believe this should be the high, then this should be the lower high, then this should be another lower high, then this should be the lower high. How about here? This is the low, then this is the lower low, this is the lower low, and this right here is the lower low, all indicating clear bearish structures. Now, when prices broke above this last lower high, what did prices do? Prices created an higher high, allowing us to know that the bears are done. Okay, prices have now changed character. Okay, we'll now say a change of character has occurred. Okay, this CHOCH, I just use it as a short form for change of character, right? So we'll now say, oh, a change of character has happened. Price has left one character, which is the bearish character, and now moved to the bullish character by creating an higher high. And what did I say? I said that what a change of character indicates an end of a particular structure and the beginning of a new structure, which means it's an opportunity for me to execute my trade and make money in the market. Okay, so that is the benefit of a change of character. My students understand this concept even way more. So if you want to be part of that community, link it in the description below. And in my community, you are going to learn other things, you know, from the Fibonacci usage to so many parts, trend line, position sizing, psychology, full master class on our trading system, you know, and whatnot. Okay, so now that we have been able to understand the concept of change of character, we are now going to go ahead and talk about the next concept, which is the concept of break of structure. So what is break of structure? Break of structure occurs when prices trade above or below. Okay, let me use the word break. You understand? So break of structure occurs when prices breaks a resistance or support level but maintains the same structure. Okay, so break of structure occurs when prices breaks a resistance or support level but maintains the exact same structure. So unlike change of character, where price is moving from one type of structure to another type of structure, break of structure maintains the exact same structure. Okay, so we are now going to go ahead and show ourselves what this break of structure is. This break of structure is, for example, if we see prices, you know, on bullish coordinations like this, right? And price now comes and grabs an higher low right here. When we see prices comes and grabs an higher low right here, remember this level right now is now a resistance point. When we now see prices push from here, grab the higher low and break this resistance level, we'll now say, oh, a break of structure has happened. Okay, so this is what we mean by prices breaking structure. Okay, so like we see prices, when prices break a resistance level in this example now, prices have broken this resistance level but maintains the same structure. It still maintains the same bullish structure as we can see. Okay, but prices broke above the resistance, we now say, oh, a break of structure has happened, and it's exceedingly significant in picking a trade in the Forex market. Okay, so that is break of structure. So now, on the other hand, how does prices break structures within what? A bearish structure. Okay, we see price make bearish coordinations like this. Remember, this level now is now a support level. If we see prices close below it, we'll now say, oh, a break of structure has happened. That is, price has broken a support level but maintains what? The same structure. It has broken this support level but maintains the same structure. We'll now say, oh, a break of structure has happened. And usually break of structure just signifies continuity in that trend. Okay, continuity in that trend. If I see a break of structure in a bearish trend, it signifies continuity in that trend. It means that, okay, I can be able to, you know, tap into my entry and continue riding that particular trend. It just shows me strength in that particular trend. Okay, and we use all of this in the market in order to, you know, place entries and have some fun, you know, maintain the Forex market. Okay, so now these are very, very important concepts that we have taught ourselves today. Now, the next thing that we are going to talk about is what? Is structure circles. Okay, so let's go ahead and write that out. You know, what are structure circles? These structure circles are also known as fractals. Okay, so it's important to note, right, that these structure circles are fragments of structure. Let's go ahead and write that out. That structure circles are fragments of likewise structure. Okay, so structure circles are fragments of likewise structures. Okay, so this is very important. Okay, so structure circles are very, very essential when you are trading, because with the right knowledge of structure circles, when you enter a trade, you know, after you see a change of character or after you see a break of structure, you can be able to know the right level to exit. Because, for example, if you're entering a trade and you see a change of character, you know the right levels to exit when you have the proper knowledge of structure circles. Okay, and I'm going to make this very simple and short for clear understanding. So now, for example, right, I'm going to give two examples, you know, for the bullish structures, for the bearish structures. I'm going to give two examples of each to just, you know, show us these fragments of likewise structures I'm talking about. Okay, and I'm going to make it simple, short, and sweet. Okay, so I don't complicate it for you guys. Okay, I actually have a full course on fractals that is available to all my students that want to go deeply into the knowledge of fractals. But for the benefit of this video, I'm going to keep it short and sweet. So now, what are these fragments of structures? For example, if we see prices make big structures like this, okay, big structures like this. In fact, before we go ahead, I must mention something, right? That structure circles are measured by the length of their exhaustion. Okay, remember that in the market, after every push there must be an exhaustion, right? And for a bullish structure, this is push, this is exhaustion, this is push, this is exhaustion, this is push. For a bearish structure, this is push, this is exhaustion, this is push, this is exhaustion, this is push. So now, how do you measure fractals or structure circles? They are measured by the length of their exhaustion. From here to here, you measure one fractal. From here to here, you measure one fractal. Okay, from here to here, you measure, okay, no, sorry, this is what direction of trend. From here to here, you measure one fractal. From here to here, you measure another fractal, because we're talking about what the exhaustion. You measure it through what the exhaustion. Okay, so now, for example, we see prices make movements like this, right? These are push, exhaustion, then prices makes another big structure like this. You can see that these two are big structures, right? Then price now starts small structures like this. Okay, if we see a change of character of this small structure, the maximum that you can exit, okay, if I place my trade after I see the change of character of this small structure, the maximum I can exit is the beginning of the new structure. Okay, or it's the beginning of the small structure. This level here is where the small structure began. Because from here, it pushed up and it started the small structure. So this is my exit. Okay, I have no business within this big structure. Why? Because what? The rules of structure circle state that what? A change of character of a small structure cannot affect the big structure. Let me go ahead and write rule 1 of trading structure circles, right? Rule 1. A change of character of a small structure cannot affect a big structure. Okay, so this is what rule 1 of structure circle rules. Okay, so this is what the rule 1 says, that a change of character of what? Of a small structure cannot affect the big structure. Okay, so now let's go back to here. So now, we have now seen that what? Okay, the change of character of this small, the structure that was broken, right, is this small structure here. So the change of character of a small structure cannot affect the big structure. It has no business within these big structures. It ends where? At the beginning of the small structure, which is right here. It ends at this level, which is the beginning of the small structure. That's why we said that what a change of character of a small structure does not affect the big structures. This is the rule 1 for trading fractals, okay, or structure circles. Okay, so that's why we said that what they are fragments of likewise structures. Okay, if you can see these small structures from here to here, these ones are what they are likewise structures, and this is a fragment of it. These big structures are separate because they are before it, so these are fragments of it. Okay, so any cell at max, this is where the cell is going to end. Okay, so that is the rule of what? Of structures. In fact, if the cell is a retracement, there's a high probability that it might end at the 61.8 or 78.6 of that. There's a high probability that it might end at the 61.8 or 78.6 if the cell is a retracement. For example, prices could actually just sell here to the 61.8 of here and here, okay, and grab another higher low here and push back up. It will now rhyme with the previous structures at the back. That's why we said a change of character of this small structure has no business with the big structure. My take profit is either at 61.8 right here or at the lowest level right here. That is my take profit, either 61.8 or lowest level. Okay, 61.8 or lowest level right here. Okay, lowest level. Okay, so why 61.8? 61.8 in cases where the sell is a retracement, and lowest level in cases where the trend is in the direction of trend. Okay, I've taught retracements and direction of trend. I have full courses on that for you to understand. I can't be able to fit all of that in one video, but link is in the description for you to have full access to those courses, right? So this is how it is, okay? But I cannot what? It's important to note that we cannot go into these levels because these levels are not our concern. We either sell to the lowest level right here, which is this level that we identified, or sell to the 61.8, depending if we are trading retracement, right? Or if we are trading direction or trend, okay? So now let's go ahead and put in another, let's talk about the bearish part of, the structures this time around. Let me, bring the eraser button and let's erase some of this so that we draw the same thing, but this time around, we'll be talking about bearish structures, right? But same thing. Okay, so if we see prices make big structures like this, we now see prices make small structures. Okay, so now a change of character of this small structure, right? Any buy ends at this level. This is the highest level where I can place my buy. Okay, where the entire structure began, highest level where I can place my buy. Okay, however, if the opportunity is a retracement, then my exit will be at the 61.8, which would be around here, because prices could as well come to 61.8 and rhyme with all of these big structures by creating another lower high and continuing in bearish coordination. So it just depends if the opportunity is in the direction of trend or if the opportunity is a retracement. But any buy here, this is the highest level. I have no business with these big structures. We have no business with these big structures because the change of characters we can see right here is of a small structure. Remember, change of characters, remember that what? Structure circles are measured by the length of the exhaustion, length of the exhaustion, length of the exhaustion. So if the length of the exhaustion that is changed is what? Is of a small structure circle, then it has no business with the big structure circle. Okay, so that is very important. So now, what is the next thing that we are going to be talking about? The next thing that we are going to be talking about is the second rule of, structure circles. And what does the second rule state? The second rule states that what? That we are the rule, okay, this is the rule one. There are two very important rules of trading structure circles. Rule two, it states that what? A change of character of a big structure affects all the small structure behind it. So a change of character of a big structure affects all of the small structure behind it. So what does this mean? So for example, right, if we see prices make small structures like this, small structures like this, small structures like this, then price now starts making big structures, right? And we now see a change of character of the big structure. Any change of character of the big structure, right? Any cell I am placing here, it affects the small structure. This is because what rule 2 of structure circle states that what a change of character of a big structure affects all of the tinier structures behind it. So any cell ends here. If it's a retracement, it will end at the 61.8, which will be somewhere around here. If the retracement, it will end around 61.8. But if it's in the direction of trend, this is the highest level it can get to, the beginning of that entire structure. Okay, so it's important to note, right, that rule 2 states that what? If there's a change of character of a big structure, okay, like you can see this exhaustion indicates a big structure, right? Any change of character, as we can see, change of character affects what? All of the smaller structure circles behind it. Okay, so the same way it happens here is the same way it happens on the bearish structure, right? If we see prices start by making small structures, then we see prices make bigger structures, right? You can see this exhaustion is bigger, right? Let me bring this tool out and let me just redraw the entire thing. If we see prices make small structures, then we start seeing prices making bigger structures like this, bigger structures like this. If we eventually see a change of character, the change of character affects all of the structures that start from here. So if I'm buying, I can buy to the highest level right here. Okay, with the retracement, I'll buy to the 61.8. For direction of trend, I can buy to the highest level. Why? Because rule 2 states that what? A change of character of a big structure, this is a big structure. A change of character of a big structure affects this, and affects this. affects all of the small structures behind. Okay, so these things are very important when we're talking about the pure knowledge of structure circles. Okay, so I'm just going to do a bit of a teaser on the chart. You guys are going to have to wait for part 2 for me to apply all of these chart structures, knowledge on the chart for you guys. However, if you want to participate, you want to just learn the master class instead of just waiting for a teaser and all, link is in the description below. But I'm just going to do a teaser for you, on the monthly time frame of GBP/JPY. Okay, so now GBP/JPY on the monthly time frame, let me widen it a bit so that we can all see it clearly. Okay, so now right here on the monthly time frame, we can see that from here, price made push to all of these levels here, then price made an exhaustion, originally indicating what bearish structures, right? Price made push here again, price made an exhaustion, continuously indicating bearish structures because we can see lower highs and lower lows. Then price made a push here again, lower low again, lower high, all bearish structures. Then price made a lower low. So GBP/JPY was clearly very bearish until we saw a change of character. So this was where the change of character occurred. So this change of character was what changed prices. It ended what? The bearish structure and began the bullish structure. That's why I told you guys that whenever a change of character happens, is very important because what it ends a bearish structure and begins a bullish structure. Now, there's another important point that I need you to learn in the knowledge of structures, okay? Is that after a change of character, prices always comes for a pullback before a takeoff, okay? It's just like, for example, you're trying to jump a ditch, right? And you're trying to jump the ditch with one leg. By the time you get to the other part of the ditch, you are going to need a second leg, okay? Why? Because what? At this level, right, prices created a higher high right here, but prices is coming from a lower low, okay? So even though price has created a higher high, prices still needs an higher low. It's coming from a lower low. So price will now pull back and create this higher low right here before taking off. So if you're trying to jump a ditch and you jump with one leg, by the time you get to the other side of the ditch, you are going to need the other leg for balance. Okay, if not, you are going to trip up. So after a change of character, which happened right here, after prices broke this lower high, created an higher high, it must pull back for an higher low before take off in the direction of trend. And that is what we can see GBP/JPY currently doing. It's changed character, pulled back. Okay, obviously we can see the price was on clear bearish structures, right? We can see the high, we can see the low, but let me put it in small rings. Let me put it in small rings. We can see the high right here, we can see a lower high right here, we can see a lower low, we can see a lower high, we can see a lower low, we can see the lower high right here, we can see the lower low right here, and another lower low right here, all indicating clear bearish structures until what? Until the change of character happened, where prices closed above the last what? The last lower high. And after that, it must pull back for an higher low. Now, this pullback is usually at the 78.6 or 61.8 Fibonacci level, but it always pulls back for that higher low. And after pulling back, what does it do? It takes off in the direction of trend. So this is what we are saying of GBP/JPY. And because GBP/JPY is in the direction of trend, where the highest level, we are buying to this level here. This is where our take profit is. So this means that GBP/JPY is on its journey to take profit, which is right here. So GBP/JPY is still on a very bullish ride. Okay, so if you want more knowledge on all of this, link is in the description below to join my masterclass, where you have access to all of this knowledge in live mentorship programs, in written courses, in video formats. I did everything to just make sure that my students have so much to learn from and they have no excuses for not being the best at what they do. Okay, so in that case, see you guys in the next teaching, and please like, share, and subscribe to my YouTube channel.